going to talk about how to find the surface area of a rectangular prism. So we're going to start with our vocabulary first. So surface area is the sum, and remember the word sum means that we're adding, right? Sum of the area of all of the faces of a 3D figure. We're going to be looking at rectangular prisms today. So a rectangular prism is a three-dimensional solid shape which has 6 faces that are rectangles. And then a net, remember a net is just that rectangular prism and it's cut and laid flat like this. So a net is a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional figure. So let's talk about how we're going to find the surface area of rectangular prisms. So step 1, you can use nets to help you find surface area. To find surface area, you're going to find the area of each face. Then add the areas together. So we're going to find the area of this rectangular prism below here. So you can see it's just a whole bunch of rectangles that have been put together to make that rectangular prism. Well, lucky for us, we know the formula for area of a rectangle. So I'm just going to draw a little arrow out right here. I'm going to start with rectangle A. And I know the formula for area is A equals BH. Area equals base times height. Well, the base of that rectangle, I know this side is 2, so that means that this side is also 2, and the height is 5. So my area is going to be 2 times 5. Area equals 10, and it's going to be centimeters squared. We have this nice little chart here that's going to help us to fill in our information. So I know that face A was 10 centimeters squared. Well, the nice thing about rectangular prisms is that each face has a twin. So there is another face that has those exact same dimensions on this rectangular prism. If we look through the middle, because of what we know about opposite sides of a rectangle, we know that all of these heights in here are also going to be 5. So I'm looking to see which one also has a base of 2. Well, it looks like C also will have a base of 2. So C has that exact same surface area, or exact same area as face A. All right, now I'm going to go on to face B because that one's just a little bit different. We're still using that same formula, area equals base times height. And this time I have to look to see what the base is. Well, it's not marked here, so I'm going to look across to see if I know what the other side of my rectangular base would be to help us fill that in. It doesn't have anything there, so then I'm going to look up top here. I see it's 3 centimeters, which means that this is 3. So this is also 3, and this is 3 if you want to fill those all in. So my area equals my base, 3, times my height, 5, which gives me an area of 15 centimeters squared. So I'm going to plug that in right here, 15 centimeters squared. And again, it has a twin, and I see D is going to be the same thing. It's 3, and then this would also be 5 for the height. So I'm going to fill in 15 centimeters squared for that as well. And then we just have these little tiny ones. I'm going to come all the way over here. We have these little baby ones left, E and F. So E is also a rectangle, so A equals base times height. I have to fill in my base, which I said is 3 right here. And then I'm looking for the height, which isn't marked. But 6th grade, if we were to fold this net together, this side is going to match up with this side. So that 2 actually also works for there. So my 2 is my height. So my base is 3 times my height of 2. So my area equals 6 centimeters squared. 6 centimeters squared. And again, it has a twin. F is the exact same size, so 6 centimeters squared. And then remember, once we find the area of each face, we're just going to add those all together. So you can use your calculator, and we know we're adding 10 plus 15 plus 10 plus 15 plus 6 plus 6. And that gives us 62. It's going to be 62 centimeters squared. And that's our final area, the surface area of that whole entire rectangular prism. Now, 6th grade, you could also use our formula. The formula for surface area of a rectangular prism is going to be SA, that stands for surface area, equals 2 times the quantity length times width, plus length times height, plus width times height, which is what we just did up here. That L looks kind of like it's hooked to my H there. That's length times height. You could see we had 3 different little sets where we were taking length times width or base times height. You can think of all of those kind of fit in there. And there was 2 of each. Remember we said they had a twin? That's why we're taking it times 2. And we added all of those areas together. Now, when we have the surface area of a cube, that has its own special formula. So it's going to be SA. Again, that stands for surface area. And it's going to be 6 times our side squared. 6 because we have 6 faces, that would all be the same. And remember, our side squared, because it's a square, all sides are going to equal the same thing. So instead of saying base times height, we just say side squared because you're taking the base times the height. All right, let's put those formulas into practice down here on this guided practice. So we have the surface area that we're trying to find for this rectangular prism right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and write out what is my length, my width, and my height. I think it's going to make that easier when we go to plug it into our formula. And 6th grade, a little clue for you. It doesn't matter what's your length, width, and height. The only thing you have to remember is you can only use each number once. So if I say 10 is my length, I can't use it for my width or my height. I'm going to say 3 is my width and 4 is my height there. So again, my formula, surface area equals 2 times length times width plus length times height plus width times height in parentheses. And now I'm just going to plug in my values. So 2 times my length was 10 times my width was 3 plus, again, my length was 10 times my height was 4 plus my width was 3 times my height was 4, parentheses. So then surface area equals, and here's the really cool thing, you guys, is we can actually type this whole thing into our calculator, and it is going to use our order of operations to give us our answer. So 2, and then you do have to use the parentheses because it has to look exactly like it does on my paper right here. So here's my parentheses right above my 8 button, so I'm going to hit parentheses, and then we have 10 times 3 plus 10 times 4 plus 3 times 4. And I'm going to close that parenthesis up there. And then we're going to hit enter. And it tells us that our surface area is 164. And again, it's going to be millimeters. Those are my units, and it's squared because we're still doing area, surface area and area. Remember, those are always squared. Okay, real quick, 6th grade, I'm going to tell you, your guys' key word to get in today's assignment is going to be fall, and it's in all caps, fall. All right, let's look at finding the surface area of that cube. So again, we're going to use that special formula, SA, surface area equals 6 times S squared. So SA equals 6 times, my side length is 5, so I'm going to do 5 squared. Okay, remember on your calculator, when we say 5 squared, you guys, remember 5 squared? That equals 5 times 5, which we know is 25. So that means I'm doing surface area equals 6 times 25. So my surface area equals, and you can use your calculator, 6 times 25. That gives you 150. And that one's going to be meters squared. Bubble that in. All right, 6th grade, if you flip to the inside, you will see that we have given you the chart for each of these problems. So you can choose to use that chart to fill it in, or you can use the formula, whatever makes more sense to you. I would try it both ways. Maybe you do the chart for one, the formula for one, just to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with both. But if you have any questions as you're working, please don't hesitate to come up and ask. When you're finished, you're going to turn this in on Canvas and make sure that you're gluing this into your notebook.